Hello. Hello, book lovers. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Your cameras and microphones have been set to remain off, and we ask that you keep them that way for the duration of the event. I am Carrie, and I'm on the Anderson's events team. I want to welcome you guys to our event with Jill Shalvis to celebrate the Forever Girl, and thank you all for being here tonight. The Anderson family has been selling books, believe it or not, since 1875 independently. And so we've made it through many tough seasons, including the last pandemic, although we were a drugstore selling books back then. So we weren't a bookstore back then. So it was actually good business to have been in during the last pandemic. But nothing has ever been quite like we have been put through this last year. It's just unbelievable. So we just wanted to let you know that you're supported this event by attending. Your purchase of the book through us tonight, it means a lot to us. And we are always grateful for your business, but this year more than any other year. We are just so grateful for your continued support. A couple things about tonight before we get started. As I mentioned previously, your cameras and microphones are off for the duration of the event. This is standard for virtual events. So please submit questions through the chat. And I beg you to please submit questions. We've been doing these now since probably April, these virtual events. They're a little bit different than the in-person events, but they really work best when the audience submits questions because it just makes it a little more interactive and fun for all of us involved. But for some reason, people are shy during these events. And I don't know why, because in person, you guys always have a million questions. So put them in through the duration of the event and I will be monitoring it and we'll just get through as many as we can at the end. So I'll like disappear for a little bit and then I'll come back on at the end with the authors and I will ask them your guys' questions. One more thing, if you ordered a book for tonight, please give us about 24 hours, so maybe Wednesday morning before you come pick it up at our Naperville location. If you ordered it to be shipped, then we'll get those all out tomorrow. And then if you haven't ordered your book for tonight or would like another signed copy, because they really do make great gifts, I think, I'll be putting that info for how to order them through the chat throughout the event. So you guys can grab them that way. Okay, that's all the house cleaning stuff. Let's get to the good part. We're here tonight with Jill Shalvis, New York Times bestselling author. She lives in a small town in the Sierras full of quirky characters, and any resemblance to them in her books is mostly coincidental. Look for Jill's best-selling award-winning novels wherever books are sold and visit her website for a complete book list. There are a lot, and daily blog detailing her city girl living in the mountains adventures. Her latest, The Forever Girl, continues her popular Wildstone series. And she will be in conversation tonight with the one and only Susan Mallery, who is the #1 New York Times best-selling author of novels that center around the relationships that define women's lives. 40 million copies of her books have been sold worldwide, which is very impressive. Susan grew up in California and now lives in Seattle. And her next book is The Vineyard at Painted Moon, which actually goes on sale 3 weeks from tomorrow on February 9th. And I'll also be putting a link in the chat so you could pre-order through us if you'd like. So now with that, I will go ahead and disapparate here by turning on my camera and I will let you guys take it, okay? And I'll keep monitoring the waiting room because people are trickling in too. All right, thanks for being here, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? It's cold there.
It's a little chilly, yes. I can't feel my fingertips, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's bad. Okay, so we're here to talk about, and I'm sorry, it's backwards. I don't know how to fix that. The Forever Girl. For those of you here, we did a little
and
talk
yours.
Last week.
We're going to talk about yours too.
Pretty. And this is such a great read. It was a fun book. It was, I love the characters. I love the intensity of the emotions. And I think you went different places in this book in the best possible way. I thought it was a lovely read. I have not read anything since because I didn't want to, spoil the post-read glow. I really did. I thought it was great. So we have questions. So I'm going to be referring to them. I don't want to mess up. Oh, well, this is easy. I did love the book. So that one was simple.
Wait, you should tell people that we went to Facebook and asked them to ask us questions.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. We're armed with reader questions. We've got questions for each other, and then we have reader questions. I think that'll be really, really fun. So why don't you tell us a little bit about...
Yes.
Here we go.
I always freeze when you say that to me, because I wrote this book, a year ago. I've written a book since then. I'm working on another book now. So it's like I have to kill off all those people in my head to talk about it. But The Forever Girl, it's about 4 people who met during a very critical time in their lives, middle school age era. We all know what those friendships are like. And as adults, you don't get those kind of friendships. It's not the same. And they bonded in such a tight way. And then something happened and they were scattered wide. And they haven't really kept up with each other, even though they love each other, in years. So they come all together for a wedding. And it's kind of explosive. There's secrets. There's just interesting times to be had when they come back together after all this time. And they think of themselves as adults now, but they were kids then. So there's that whole dynamic going on. And it's a friendship, there's a love story, it's family, the family that you make, I guess, is really the theme of it.
Well, one of the things I really liked about it, and I thought was really special, was there, of course, is a romance in this, because that's where you started, it's where I started. At the core of most of our books is, in fact, a romance. But in this case, there is the traditional love story, but there's also a love story of this family finding itself back together. And in some ways, I think a family made is more powerful than the family you're born into, because the family you're born into, you really don't have choices. You either stay or you go. But a family you make, every step along the way, you're making choices. It is a decision. And the way you wrote that with these 4 friends reconnecting and the dynamics between them, I thought it was quite exceptional.
Thank you. I do think that there's something about the family you make versus the family you're given. You've chosen that, like you said, it's a conscious decision. And so I think those ties are stronger that way. And when you've been ripped apart and then you come back together, I think you're more desperate than you would to get back together and stay together than maybe you would be if you were blood.
Well, I completely agree. And I also think there's the issue of, if you fight with your sister, at some point you're going to have to see her again.
Yeah.
But if you've made
Mom's
this
gonna
family, if you've made this family, you don't necessarily have to see them again. And I like the positivity of the choice. I like the just the decision and how it's made. And they have some serious things to work through. And one of the things I really like about the book is it's it's 4 friends who experience the same event, but how they reconnect is completely different between all 4 of them. Sometimes with the 4-friend books, it's very similar. It feels repetitive. Every character is completely unique, and every character's dynamic with the other 3 is so true to who they are. And I just think that's such a strength of the book.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've said this before too. There's 2 reasons why the characters felt so strong. And that was because 1, you taught me how to draw a character. And 2, I have an amazing editor who keeps me on track. And it takes a village. It really does.
It does take a village. I mean, if, I had to come up with it, it would just be like a blue cover that said, "New book, you should buy it."
Yeah, me too.
Susan Mallery. That's as much artwork as I.
Can I just say how good these look together, though?
They do look together. The palettes are very pretty, and both of our names are big, and they're in white.
I like it.
For those of you who have not become writers, it is a hard career. But seeing your name, it's like, we like that part. So
one of the biggest kicks I get out of that is going to Target, which is just a store I just love, and seeing it on the shelf. That makes it all worthwhile.
It's really fun to see. Yeah, I agree. Book on the shelf is, I don't know, it's a great experience. You have to count how many your friends have. Oh yeah, no, it's the whole thing. You can't just like go.
Ladies,
and then you have to buy the 47
I'm sorry
things.
to interrupt you guys. I'm so sorry. We just found out, thank you, Christy, for letting us know, that some of our attendees did not get the reminder email with the link for tonight. So I just wanted to let you guys know remember, I was like, this is so weird. Where is everybody? That's why some people are late. So I just want to let you know that you might see more people popping in because I'm resending it right now. So I just wanted to give you guys the heads up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, okay.
I forget where we were.
I know. We'll start at the next thing we were going to talk about,
Okay.
which is these are foster kids in the book. I don't believe that's a spoiler. And
well, not all of them. One of them is
one of them is the biological child. And so Jill and I have known each other since the beginning of our writing career. And one of the things when the girls were little, and as they got a little bit older, you know, like into middle school age, you always had extras. You always had extra kids in the house, kids who didn't have a place to go. Mm-hmm. So how much did that inform what you wrote and why you wanted to write it?
I was always shocked that there was so many kids right here in town that didn't have a place to go or didn't have food or didn't have anybody who cared where they were. And yes, so we always ended up with extras. And so I guess a little bit of that has always stuck with me. I was a lonely child too. I always dreamed about having a big family. So I think those two things come together for me. Often my theme is the family you make versus the family you're born with. And so I guess that was probably always in my mind when I was writing this, all the different kids that have come through. Yeah. And the bonds they make with my kids, like we're still connected.
And with you.
Yeah.
And Alpha Man.
There's a lot of people in my house right now. I have to tell you.
I would imagine. Yeah, no, I know. There's 5 here, but 3 of them are 4-legged. So that's
all right. That's so counts.
Although it's still bodies and, you know, cats are up at 5:30. One of the things that I really like, this is part of a series, but it is connected by person. I'm sorry, it's connected by location, not by specific people.
Correct. So you can read it in any order.
Yeah.
There's no, you're not going to miss anything. There's no characters that cross over. It's just the same setting because I love the setting, Wildstone.
And, but every setting is unique to that book. So where this book is set is different.
Yes. Because
so what was that? What was that decision?
Well, I've started off with Wildstone, which is made up from Avila Beach in the San Luis Obispo area on the mid-California coast. And that area is my favorite place to go ever. It's got wineries, it's got ranching, it's got, you know, the beaches, so there's surfing and there's little tourist shops. And then there's these gorgeous green rolling hills with oaks on them for miles and miles and miles. So by calling that place Wildstone, I had the beach, I had a lake, I had the ranches, I had a winery. So I was able to set each book somewhere different within this Wildstone area. And, you know, we've talked about this before too. We're both AD, well, you're ADD. I'm ADHD. So I like to bounce around. I do. You can tell by my hands. But so for me, it was very, it was cathartic to be able to move around and not have to create a whole new world, really, because this was where so we'll be here for maybe 8 books.
Oh, that's nice. Now this is 6.
This is 6. So there's 2 more.
2 more. Okay.
And then I'm moving to a new series called Sunrise Cove, which will be set in Lake Tahoe, which is where I live. So that'll be fun too.
So they can go to your Taco Bell.
Yes, they can. Now tell me about your setting.
Okay, before I do that, I just want to say, Carrie, do you want us to put out an invitation on Facebook?
With the link?
With the link and have some people come in? Because Janelle can do that. She's here.
Yeah, if you have somebody there who's willing to do it, that'd be great. I'm really sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm just trying to think how to get.
It looks like we sent out the wrong event link is what we did. So
can you send out a new one or is it too late?
So we are sending out a new one right now. I just called my coworker and she's sending it out. But if you guys if you wanted to post it on Facebook and let people in, that's totally fine too.
And it's the same link we had before.
Yes, it's the link. Yeah, for this meeting that you used to get it.
Okay, so Janelle already has that because that's how she got here. So she'll go put it on Facebook right now.
Okay.
And so that should bring some people.
All right.
So.
Thanks, guys. I'm really sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you, Christy, for letting us know.
Yeah, we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to try to post it on my Facebook, but I don't have enough internet to do this and that apparently. So.
Welcome to living in the wilderness.
Mountain living. Can I just say that not 10 minutes before we started this chat, we had bears in our yard today.
Oh, God.
Just, you know, they come every Monday because it's trash day. Okay, Shalvis gives a good trash, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that they talk about you and the trash.
Let's go hit Jill's trash up. There might be cookie crumbs.
Yeah. And they can lick the wrappings. Yes, we one of the houses, because we moved a lot, as you know, we lived in. I bought Halloween candy that was berry scented, apparently berry flavored. Wasn't thinking, threw it in the trash. Turns out our neighborhood had a bear, and then we had to get the bear trash can, which is like a whole thing. They tried us with the raccoon trash can because apparently there was a raccoon trash can, and the bear was just like, "Oh, you guys are so funny," and he ripped it open. I assume it was he, and then we had to get the bear trash can, and then we had to get a wrought iron fence, and then we moved.
You have to have a bear trash can here. You're required.
Yeah, you'd have to, because they just mock the others.
Yes, but they still mock the bear trash cans, just so you know.
Oh, they just, yeah, our bear was, well, we would just like not take it out till the morning.
Yeah.
You can't leave it out the night. So anyway, no, I love animals and I'm pro bear, just not in my life. I don't want
I can understand that. This guy was the size of a VW, just hanging out. I said, hey, trying to, because usually you just say something.
And he's like,
look up.
I love you too.
Yeah, he's like, great, thank you for telling me it was Monday.
Very briefly.
I'm sorry to interrupt again. Yes. I'm the absolute worst. I promise that this is like the first time this has happened. I feel so bad. But we did just have a bunch of people join us. So I just did want to explain. I'm really sorry, everybody. You missed a few minutes because we had a snafu with the link that got sent out to you guys. So I just want to apologize. Everybody's here now. We're in the middle of a great conversation. Please put any questions you might have through the chat and we'll answer them at the end. And now I promise that'll be the last time that I interrupt.
Don't worry, you didn't miss much. We were talking about bears. We'll move on.
We were talking about bears, and I was about to move to coyotes. So this is better. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're here talking about Jill's book, The Forever Girl. I read it. I loved it. It's fantastic. You should get 2 copies.
While you're there, pre-order.
Yes, and feel free. Makes a great gift. Mother's Day will be here before you know it, because time is moving both quickly and slowly at the same time.
Painful.
So let's move on to, go ahead.
We were talking about setting.
Yes, we were talking about setting.
In both of our books, settings are very important to us.
They are.
My setting's a character. I absolutely feel that when I read your books as well. So
yes, I agree.
How did you come up? Because it says Vineyard on the title, so I expect it to be like Napa.
It's all wine. It's all wine all the time.
But it's not in California. It's
in Walla Walla, Washington, which is our own little wine area. The Columbia Valley, Walla Walla. It's Red Mountain is incredibly expensive. Oh, I just nearly popped myself out. Is some of the most expensive wine growing region real estate you can buy. So I thought it would be fun. I've written about a winery like 10 or 15 years ago. So I figured it was time to revisit and I would enjoy the research, which I did. So it was fun. And yes, the setting is significant. The location, and I just enjoyed it. It was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to write. It was a very interesting family. I had a good time.
One of my favorite settings that I did in Wildstone in Rainy Day Friends was at a winery, a little family owned winery. Well, first the research was obviously amazing, but it was just so cute to see how such great wine can come out of just true family love. You know, this family did it all themselves. The son was the winemaker and the daughter was the salesperson and someone was a label maker. It was just really, really great. There's something great about a winery that's owned and run by a family like that.
Absolutely. I completely agree. So let's talk about this. Oh, this is interesting. So now we ask for questions on Facebook.
Yes.
So we're going to do our Facebook questions. So which character in your current book would you most like to be friends with and why? And then I'll answer.
Well, if I was single, I would want Walker from
I don't think you'd be friends.
No,
I think you'd be more than friends.
We would absolutely be way more than friends. That was a cheat answer. Gosh, that's a tough one because I kind of love them all. Do you feel this way? Like you created them and then they're your people? So I can't imagine.
Mine's easier. I have a villain and villainess. And
you want to be friends with the villain?
Friends with Mackenzie, yeah. No, not the villain. No, she made me very angry. And I just but once you write them, you have to let them go be stupid. So for me, it would be Mackenzie, who's the heroine. And I always try to write my heroines to be someone I would want to be friends with, because if I don't want to be friends with them, why would the readers want to read about them? So I always feel that, we at least need to be to the point where, I'd have lunch with them.
Yes. Well, then I guess that would be Maze for me out of the Forever Girl, because I feel like she's so loyal, so fiercely loyal and so protective that she'd be a really great friend.
I think she would be too. I think she'd be a great friend. Oh, interesting. How does your book reflect your worldview?
Yeah, I saw that question, and I often write to avoid the world and the news. So that's kind of an interesting situation that I write to get away from all of that. But I think my love of family comes through. That probably reflects my biggest view. That's a tough question.
Yeah, I think that for me, I am a strong believer in justice, and so my characters have to earn their happy ending. Just because you're starring in the book doesn't mean things are going to work out for you. Don't, try not to piss me off. No, it's mostly characters have to grow and change. And my worldview is you have to earn your happy ending. And so I torture them to make sure that they have learned whatever they're supposed to be learning. And so I can move them forward in the story. So
that's interesting. We torture people for a living.
We do, but only emotionally, and
correct.
Only a little bit for sport. Sometimes, Okay. Maureen asks us both, is it hard to write something that you wouldn't do yourself?
No, I love it, because then I don't have to jump out of a plane or learn how to rock climb or do all these dangerous things that sometimes my people do. It's awesome.
I agree. I enjoy characters who are more brave than I am, yes, or who have a different worldview. I'm currently writing a character who will not have an emotional relationship with anybody, but certainly not a man. But she's successful and beautiful and can just go anywhere. She sees a guy who's interesting, walks up, says the thing you're supposed to say, and he's like, sure. And it's never in a bazillion years, whether I was 16 or today, could I ever have done that. And I think one of the things about being a writer, most of us, we don't want to be seen. We want to, especially, well, I think most writers are introverts, but there are a few oddballs who are not. We always talk about this, I don't want to go to the party, but I do want to be invited. Just
absolutely,
tell me how much you'd love to have me there, and then it's not happening. But it's fun to write people who are different and who do things or say things.
I love that when they're super brave. I'm not brave. My heroine is almost always brave, loyal, smart, and they have witty comebacks that maybe took me hours to think.
Yeah, or 3 days later,
right?
It's it's that. That's what we're supposed to say. And the difference for a character is if we wake up at 3 a.m. with the perfect retort, we can go write it down the next day. Whereas in life, you're stuck thinking, why did I not say anything?
Exactly. Let's see. Lisa asks us both, do your husbands read your books and comment on them? My husband does not read my books. I don't let him.
Oh, interesting.
It's women's fiction. I don't think he'd like them. My husband is a problem solver. So I will go to him in the plotting at some point and say, this and this and this is happening. And what do you think? And he'll help me with the plot, but emotionally, no. Development, no.
Oh, that is fun. No, I require Mr. Mallery to read one a year.
You do?
I do. And I pick the one I think he'll like the most. And we now have a deal. He's not supposed to tell me he's reading it because it's his e-reader. I'm not going to know what it is. Because before he would say oh, I started your book. And then there would just be nothing.
Oh.
And it's I'm sorry, I didn't hear it's the most amazing thing I've ever read part, because we're married. He's supposed to say that. So, and then he'll come tell me at the end, I read it and I really like this and all that. And he never says anything other than that.
I'm having bad flashbacks to my mother because she'll always say that. Oh, I read your book. and then nothing.
Yeah, no, that would just, and I know he doesn't, I totally get that. So, but yes, he does read one. And some years it's really easy. I know which book I want him to read. And some years it's really hard because either they're more emotional than I think he would enjoy or what. So some years are easy to pick. And so I haven't decided yet which of this year's books I'm going to have him read.
I'm sure
I'm
he's
leaning towards the Vineyard of Painted Moon simply because I know he'll really love the wine stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started on that myself.
So, okay.
Let's see, we're down to Jennifer asks Jill, if you weren't a writer, what would you be doing? This is my favorite question because I am uniquely suited to do nothing else. I'm terrible at customer service. I have no attention span. I'm ADHD and unmedicated. I seriously don't know what I would do if I couldn't be a writer. I could be a professional napper.
It's not a lot of work there. I mean, there's a lot of work. There's not a lot of pay.
Yes, I could probably work at Taco Bell. I do love their food. Or Target. I mean, I love a good Target. And, I look okay in a red shirt, I guess, right? And I like their popcorn.
I think red is a universally flattering color. So I think we'd all do well there. I'm with you on the customer service. And I would just,
Imagine if they put us in charge of customer service of a place.
No, that would be so bad. Okay. Where are we? Oh,
here we are. Eve Marie asks Susan, do you have a favorite series or book that you've written?
Well, I find this amusing. I'm supposed to tell you that my favorite book ever in the whole history of the universe is The Vineyard of Painted Moon.
Of course.
So, and that's true, because they're all our children and I don't love them equally. There are books.
No, I don't love them equally either.
Yeah, no. Some of it for me is there's books I want to go back and fix. Because now I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I plotted that wrong. I need to go back and fix it. On the series, there's some series I like for different reasons. Years ago, I used to write category romance, and I wrote a chic series that was the most fun ever because it was so outrageous. And those were really fun in their day at the time. They were really fun. I love Fool's Gold. I still miss Fool's Gold, and I am enjoying. I had a good time going from Fool's Gold to Happily Inc. because it was fun to reinvent the series. So I'm going to say, no, not really. I try to love them all. I confess, love them equally, but I do love them all.
I feel the same. It's a little bit like someone asked me, which is your favorite kid? And it's always the kid that's asking me, so which is my favorite book. It's always the book that I've just finished because I've written the end and I don't have to revisit it and I'm ready to move on. So that's usually my favorite book, is the one I just finished.
Okay.
Definitely, it's never the one I'm writing. I mean, we've talked about being uniquely suited for nothing else, but also this is a really hard job and there's so many days that I don't know how I'm going to get to the end. And it's like you've said many times, it's like herding wild horses to get a book out. And so it's never the one I'm writing.
Yeah, the book we're writing, I think it's the worst thing. Well, not the worst thing, but one of the things that's really difficult is the vision is so clear and crisp and perfect. And then the words go on the page and it always, at least for me, it always falls short. And when I'm writing it, apparently I have a process that Mr. Mallery and my lovely assistant Janelle tell me is true. Is partway through, I'm like, this is crap. Only I say other words, and it's really bad, and I don't know how to fix it. And every time it's very genuine. It's to the point now where I've actually built in time on the book I'm writing for Janelle to read it because she's my first read, and send me back revisions so I can do revisions before I turn the book in, because I am convinced it's that hideous that it's going to need an extra pass. And I've literally got an extra month in my schedule to completely revise this story. When it comes out, we'll have the discussion as to whether or not this is just my process, or one of these times it's going to be true. It's just so far hasn't been, but it could be, and this could be the one, because they both tell me that, and I'm like, no, I know I always say this, but this time,
this time I mean it.
It's really bad. It's so bad.
I think that happens to everybody in the middle of every single book. For me, it's somewhere between chapter 12 and chapter 19. I'm convinced that this was, it was a pity contract, and that I don't know how to write. I do this every time, and my people laugh at me when I go through this, but it feels so real.
It does.
The desperation is real.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, it's just, and it's not a pity contract. It's a corporation.
No.
They don't have pity.
Do you ever get to point where you feel like I've forgotten how to write, or I have imposter syndrome? Like, it just happens. It's just part of the process.
I do more like nothing about this idea works. This just doesn't. And I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and think, well, does everyone have a goal? Because characters having a goal is a thing. The book is much stronger if they have a goal. And it's like, okay, well, she doesn't have a goal. So do I write her out? Do I pull this story thread from the book? Because I don't know, so that's 3 to 4:30. And then I get from 4:30 to 5:30 to sleep. And then Alex, the cat, will be waking me up at 5:30. Okay, this is a great question. And I am dying to know the actual answer. So is there another genre you would like to write in? And it can't just be some version of romance and women's fiction. It has to be like a real genre switch.
I've lost, I don't know where that is in here, but
it's the last one. It's right here. Now that's so unhelpful.
Yeah, that's very unhelpful. Okay, yes. Is there a book a genre that I wish I could write in?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I have some supernatural in me.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, like which of there's a 1,000 slivers of that pie. So what would you write?
I have a couple of things. I have like it's very complicated, but I have two. I'd love to write Sister Witches, which has been overdone and it isn't in and all that. So I'm saving that for someday. And then I've had this story in my head for a long time about a girl who dies before it's her time, but it's too late to put her back. So she's allowed to grant wishes to the people that she loves. And
that sounds like a fabulous novella Christmas series.
Okay, if you could just, write my editor and let her know.
Yeah, no, or just do a series of Christmas books. I'm starting a new series that's all Christmas. There's a novella in the summer, but it's still Christmas in July in Wishing Tree. And I am loving the Christmas series because I like a good Christmas book. I like writing a Christmas book. And the series allows me to create the town. It's like the best of writing an ongoing series like Fool's Gold or Happily Inc. and writing a Christmas book, which most of the time is pretty fun. It's just, I had no idea when they said, would you do a Christmas series? I was like, okay. And now I'm just so grateful because I'm having a wonderful time. In fact, that's the book I write next. I will be writing a Christmas.
I love a good Christmas, a good holiday story.
Yeah, it's fun. And you've got that tight timeline.
Yep.
And all that. So yeah. Okay. So
I'm trying to find this. Yeah. And how about you? What genre would you write in if you could?
I want to write not a thriller, but I want to write oh my God, Robert Ludlum. So he wrote the Bourne books. Mm-hmm. I read when he was still publishing in the 80s and 90s. The only author, because I was young and poor, I would buy in hardcover, and I knew when his book was coming out. This is before the internet. And because there'd be signs at the bookstore, and if you're there every week, you know everything coming out. And I would save to buy his book, and I would clear 2 days, and I would just read solid for 2 days. And afterwards, I'd have the eyes hurt and the headache. But I want to do something. I will never do it. I flirted with it a couple years ago and actually got a storyline together and did research, some of which was Bitcoin. So if anybody wants to know how to what Bitcoin is. I can actually do this. And just don't put your money in it. It's a silly thing. It's going to crash. Anyway, and then I thought, but I only want to write the one book. I don't want to write more. And publishers, as a rule, they don't want you flirting. They want a ring. They want to put a ring on it, or they won't go out with you. So I had even signed, there's something, obviously not this past year, but there's a thing called Thriller Fest in New York every summer, where all these great suspense authors come in and there's classes. I had signed up. I had my hotel reservation. I had signed up for the master class. It was going to be like 6 days. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to like go incognito. And Mr. Mallery is like, sweetie, does it not occur to you editors are there, like from your publishing house? And I'm like, oh yeah, that. Anyway, I talked myself off the ledge, did not go, and will not be writing a thriller, but I still.
Maybe you will someday. Maybe you'll find a way to do it with a romance.
I'm not a huge fan of romantic suspense. I don't get the, oh my God, he's got a gun. Ooh, we should have sex now. I find that confusing. So
which, by the way, makes our job harder because we don't have a gun. We don't have a zombie apocalypse. We don't have a ghost. And so therefore our books are hard because we have to come up with a believable conflict for why two people can't get together on page 10.
Exactly. The world.
I find that that's the hardest part of plotting for me, by the way. Not that anybody asked me, but it is. The hardest part of plotting is to come up with believable characters.
Well, they have to be broken enough that they're going to heal in the book and fall in love. And it's not falling in love that heals them.
No.
They can fall in love because they've healed, but they can't be so broken you're convinced in a year they're going to take out a McDonald's, because I've read those heroes. It's like, oh, sweetie, don't marry him. I know the sex is amazing and he loves you, but there's some stalker in him, and I just wouldn't go there if I were you.
And a lot of times that's why giving, this is a little cheat actually, it's why sometimes I give characters a past together so that when the happily ever after comes, if it's going to come, that you believe that it will last.
Right. Because it is a delicate balance of broken enough.
It is. I did that in the Forever Girl, as a matter of fact, with Maze and Walker. I gave them a pass that they had to.
Oh, you didn't just give them a pass. You gave them a pass. Oh, no, it was fabulous. That
was one of my favorites.
And then what I loved is like we got little tiny snippets. And then there was like the big plot twist.
Oh my God. And that killed me because I want to give it all away on page 10. I kept trying to do that. And then in the 3rd or 4th or 20th draft, I would just erase all those, trying to hold it back.
But what I liked is after the big reveal, we still don't know everything. We don't know, we still get it in snippets, but it's very believable how it is.
That book almost killed me,
No, it was good. It was definitely, I like that a lot. And I agree, the reunion love story really does help. So I think that's why one of the things we both like about Christmas books is it provides its own structure simply by time. So you've basically got Thanksgiving or a little before, and it's probably going to end between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So and certain things are going to happen. You're probably going to make cookies. You're going to decorate a tree. You're going to do all these lovely things that are fun to write. So it gives a little bit of form to what is otherwise just the great void of, I don't know.
And there's a lot of that in the first draft for me.
There's a lot of, I don't know.
Lori asks us both, what do you do when you get stuck writing? How do you get unstuck? For me, that was a lot easier before the pandemic because I could go somewhere. I could go do things and live a life. And this past year, that actually has been very difficult for me when I'm stuck to get unstuck. A lot of walking, a lot of talking to myself, a lot of
swearing,
some crying.
Yeah, no, I agree. The ability to, if I got stuck in a book or I had trouble starting a book, I would just pack up and go to a hotel for 4 or 5 days and really write intensively, get a massage every day because I'd killed myself with my back and my hands, and watch movies. And oddly enough, and this will all make you think, okay, I'm not sitting next to her on a plane. I buy Lego sets to build while I'm watching movies because it keeps my monkey brain quiet. And then go to bed, order room service because God knows I'm not going to go eat in a restaurant by myself. And then just do that for like 5 days. If I'm, it can either get me over the hump of starting, or if I'm in a book that's stalling, I can write 100 pages, 110 pages in that time. And that is, I just had that whole mini breakdown last week about I can't go do that.
It's hard.
It is. It does make it more difficult. I go back to the plotting. To me, if there's a stall, then I've made a mistake somewhere.
Absolutely.
The character's not right, or the story's not right,
or you veered off path of your plot.
Don't do it. There's no path veering in my world. I could reach and grab my plotting cards and show you how not. Okay, hold on. Don't want to make anyone nauseous by moving too much. This is how not off the path. This is the scene I'm currently writing. This is how long it is. This one is not super long, but this is one scene and it's totally defined, single space, whose point of view, where we are, what needs to happen, some lines of dialogue. There is no veering. But it's possible this is wrong, and that's why it goes awry. So I go back and look at character and I look at structure, and it's like, did I mess up? Because unless there's a life event, it's always hard, but there's a difference between hard and
impossible.
I hate this.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
I feel like when I get stuck, I've done something wrong, and I always have to go back and figure it out. It's very painful. Oh, so painful. I do what you do. I have it very deeply outlined. I know every scene of the whole entire book, and I have the physicality of the scene, the emotional area, where the people are emotionally, whose point of view it is, and what I need to happen in the scene.
Oh, wow. That's different for you. I mean, but really evolved on that.
Yes, but because I can no longer write without it, because then I really get stuck. But the problem is if you get halfway and you realize that maybe something was wrong in the beginning, you have to go all the way back through, and every little change changes all those threads, and you have to fix the outline. And it's very painful, and nobody likes it. It's
like water through gravel. Yeah, you pour it on the top, but then it just goes everywhere.
Hello, Carrie, you're back.
Hi guys, I'm back. I just popped right in. It seemed like a good time to jump in and see if you guys were ready to take a couple of questions from our audience here tonight.
Sure.
I also wanted to let everyone know, thank you again so much for being patient with us. I know we got started late because that link got sent out late to you guys. There was a lot of frantic phone calling going on between myself and my coworker about that. I'm so glad that we were able to get it to you guys and that you were able to still log in. And to those of you that also joined us through Susan's Facebook page, thank you so much for being here. Okay, so we've got some questions and some comments, and some of them are hilarious. First of all, Jill, everybody in the chat agrees that you need to do the supernatural thing. Oh my gosh, everyone went nuts.
I saw that too, yeah.
Oh, how can you guys read that? I didn't bring my glasses.
It popped up on the bottom. There was
sometimes it does, it'll pop in.
Yes, with like 15 S's. Oh. Yes, you need to do that. That was funny.
Someday.
And then Susan, Janelle just wanted to comment that your silk bamboo behind you looks fabulous. And I'll let you explain to everybody why that's funny, because it's worth the toxic fumes you are currently
inhaling. Yes.
I'll let you go ahead and explain that in a second. But okay, first question. You kind of touched on this with your last question, actually, that you guys just covered from your Facebook questions. But Carrie asked, I'd like to know how COVID has changed things for you in terms of writing, if any. I'm curious to hear both your responses. You kind of covered that. But then Christy, sort of adding on to that, these kind of go together. Do you structure your days for writing or go with the flow? Has that changed because of COVID? Is it the same?
I definitely structure my days for the job, and I write first thing in the morning. I find if I wait till later never happens. So I write. I have a goal for the day and I write till that goal is complete. And if I'm lucky, it's 1 o'clock. Some days it's bedtime, but I'm very structured because otherwise I would never get a thing done.
Yeah, I do the same. I write in the morning. I have a daily goal, but I've learned to have a weekly goal because there are times when I'm just like, I'm not going to. And if I know I'm not going to hit my daily goal, then it's like, it doesn't matter. But if I also have a weekly goal, then okay. So, and I do pages because the word count is too much math because it's a big number. Like I'm 66,000 plus words in the book I'm writing. And it's like, okay, but tomorrow I'm going to write 15 pages. I can't add 3,000 onto that number very easily and keep it in my head. So, but if I know my weekly goal is 75 pages, okay, so, okay, I'm not going to do 15, but if I do 7, I'm closer to the 75 than if I do nothing. I've just found that very helpful. So I do, I try to write in the morning also. One of the things we talk about all the time is the writing is, there's so much more to do for, there's editorial, there's cover discussions, there's font discussions, there's publicity, there's would you do a blog? Can you read this book and give a quote? Can you do this? Can you do that? And it is almost 50-50, the writing versus the other stuff. So there has to be structure. Some days it's really easy. Oh, I'll write this blog, and it's we joke, you can't give it away for free. It's like the morning writing for both Jill and myself is like, I always think, and this is a weird analogy and I apologize, but you know, have you ever cooked with like brandy and then you light it on fire? Don't use the little match, I'm just going to say, but that blue fire that comes out, that to me is how I picture the creative energy. And it's limited every day. There's only so much of it. And if I waste it on an email or, and I don't mean a blog as a waste, but it's not going into the book. And while I'm sure, you know, the blogs are delightful, I'm not sure how much wouldn't you rather have it in pages for a book? So the energy to me has to be sort of protected and cared for so that it's available to burn on the page. I don't know.
Writing is really tiring. I don't know if you find that, but I find it exhausting. So that's another reason I start in the morning, because there's this finite amount of blue flame. And once it's gone, it's gone. And then that's when emails happen or blogs or whatever else you have to do.
The whining, yeah. Because it's easy. If you read something, it's like, oh, that's going to be so fun to write. I'm going to write this. It's like, don't do that. Yeah. Do not go write that. It can be fun later. Not now.
That's really great advice. Actually, I've never heard in all these events, I've never heard an author give that advice. So that's actually really interesting. Thank you so much. And also, Jill, I loved how you said, what did you say? Later never comes, or you never go back to it later. I think that is so true of so many things. So great advice. Okay. So along those lines, actually, another Carrie, I just have to say, there are so many Carries in here tonight. We all spell our names with the letter K, and they're all different. And I never meet other Carries with a K, so that's very exciting. Carrie asks, do either of you, kind of along the lines of what we were just saying, do either of you get so into writing you lose track of time, or is it tiring, like Jill just said, and you don't find that happens?
Well, I lose track of time all the time. However, I never forget to eat. I don't know why. A lot of authors tell me, oh, they've gone all day and they haven't eaten. I don't know how to do that. I'm hungry all the time, but I definitely lose track of time.
All right.
No, I am very conscious. When I'm writing, there's a little piece of my brain saying, ooh, page break. Page break. Because there are times I'll write more because it's like clicking, and the gift of clicking is really important. If the writing just is like, if you're on a roll, it's like, you just thank you. And I go until I'm through the roll. And then yes, the exhaustion hits. But most days it's just like, oh, please let me get to 15. So
sometimes because I have a hard time staying on topic, I'll stop for the day right in the middle of a scene, right in the middle of a paragraph, so that the next morning I'm not looking at a blank page.
Right. There's the beginning where it's chapter 1.
That's awful. Yeah.
And then hopefully, we've discussed, we have to know our first line.
Yes.
But yes, this morning I sat down and it said, I can tell you, chapter 16, because it doesn't matter. I have an ADD thing here. Chapter 16. And then it was just blank. And I'm like,
Oh,
no.
I try to never do that. I actually
Yeah.
physically try to not do that. If I finish a chapter and I have the words, I still go and try to write the first part of the first paragraph of the next scene.
Yeah, because otherwise it was my, and I've been doing revisions, so I haven't been in the book for about 10 days, and my literally stomach just, ugh.
Yeah.
No. But then I had my plotting, and it was funny, so I was good.
All right. So this one is for Jill, from Norma. Jill, do you plan to have any more books to go to Passion Flicks or any movie streaming services? I'm going to let my dog in, but I'll be right back. Keep talking.
I would love that to happen, but most of the time authors aren't really in charge of what gets made and what doesn't get made. But it'd be a huge dream come true for Wildstone to be a series, or the Heartbreaker Bay set in San Francisco. I love that series. I think it'd be so much fun. So much fun. You've had Hallmark movies made, haven't you, Susan?
I've had one, but now they're creating their own material, so they don't need us.
But did you love it?
It was nice. Yeah. I mean, we're not involved. Were you involved?
No. Not at all.
No, it's like you get a call from your agent saying this happened. I did email with the producer, who was lovely, a couple of times. And he said it screened really well to the executives. So they were putting a little more money in it to give it more snow. I assume that's a good thing. I mean, and when I saw it, I was super happy. And the actress who plays Maddie has the best hair and amazing coats. And the actor who plays Johnny Blake is so hunky. He has appeared in a couple of more books and he does not know.
Yeah, I loved it when they did mine. I had nothing to do with it. They made The Trouble with Mistletoe from the Heartbreaker Bay into a Passion Flicks film. And I was like, are you sure you want that one? Because that one, the heroine owns a pet shop. So there's a million animals in that one. And you always hear how hard animals are to film, but they did it. It was adorable.
Yeah, that's fun. Now, I would love it too. It's just like, call me. I'm free.
I'm just waiting.
I'm completely available that afternoon to take your call. Just whenever you want. Here I am.
Christy had a similar question actually for both of you, so I'll let each of you answer. She says, for Susan, Fool's Gold is so real for your readers, and I love the mayor, how you bring back characters, which you just sort of kind of talked about in news stories. I want to move there. How do you continue to build this world? And then for Jill, she says, Lucky Harbor is such a real place for your readers as well. Where do you draw inspiration from for both of your settings?
Go ahead.
For me, the setting, I think I said before, is like a character. So I have to be in love with where I'm setting that book because it's that important. It's a character with its own little story. So for Lucky Harbor, I was living in LA and had never really lived in a small town. And I loved all the cliches that you hear about small towns when you've never been to a small town. And so I had a lot, then I moved to a small town and then I started writing this and I realized that all those cliches were actually true. So I had a lot of fun with that. So that was probably my first small town fun setting that I just was such a character to me because, you know, this is a place where you can leave your car and your house unlocked, but you can't leave, you can't keep a secret. And it was just so strange because in LA, you're anonymous, like you never see anybody that you know. And yet in this town where I live, if you go to the grocery store, you're going to see your gynecologist, you're going to see your dentist, you're going to see the principal of your kid's school. So I had a lot of fun with that setting. And I wrote a lot of small towns because of that, I think.
Yeah, I agree that for me, Fool's Gold, I wanted to do a town. A writer friend of mine had said, stop writing about families. You have a finite number of people, write about a town. And I thought, well, that's some good advice. So that was my first foray into a town. And Fool's Gold was just, it kind of grew. I love the traditions. I love setting up something like Joe's Bar where they're showing HGTV and it's flattering colors on the wall. And if you want to watch sports and play pool, you're in a small dark room in the back. So it caters, not exclusively, but it caters to women. And I just enjoyed that. And I like revisiting. And every time I would start a Fool's Gold book, we created a Bible of who the characters were and the settings and all of that. But to sit down and think about writing a story there, it's like going home. It's like going home in the best way possible, because you know the stuff, you know the people. I had a map, so I would always get the directions right. And it was just a feeling of sinking into the moment. And I knew I was going to have a good time. I hope the readers were going to have a good time. So yeah, that was very enjoyable.
Great. The setting is so important. I love what you both kind of said about it being its own character, because it's so true. A perfect setting or a great setting just makes the whole book. Okay. This is from May, and she asked, have any of your real life interactions with your numerous family members made it into any of your recent books?
Well, I'm not going to admit it if it did. I try really hard to disguise everything so no one could point fingers at themselves.
That's so funny.
I don't do a lot of family stuff. I try to really keep that separate, but there are pieces of my life that definitely show up all the time. Travel, or Mr. Mallery and I went to Barcelona 3 years ago and had the most amazing time. So ever since then, when I need a European city, I'm mostly saying Barcelona. And it becomes an Easter egg. So there's a restaurant that we went to, and, we felt very cosmopolitan. We went to this Italian restaurant, and sitting down, it was beautiful. It smelled amazing. Smelled a lot like truffles and truffle oil and arugula. It was just like, you walked in, it's like, okay, I just want to live here. And we're perusing the menu, and I turn it over. It's like, sweetie, this is a chain. There were like 5 restaurants, and one of them is in West Hollywood. So in the book I'm currently writing, they go there for dinner because the hero has traveled, and he said, oh, I ate there in Barcelona. So it's like, that's partially me, and then a little Easter egg because it's going to show up in other books. So that's really fun. So I try to go that route rather than, oh, I saw you do that thing, I'm putting in the book. Ha ha ha. I don't want to do that.
You're working out your angst in it. Yeah. Okay. So I think we have time for just 1 or 2 more here. This is actually one of my favorite ones. So we'll go with this. And this is for both of you. I'm going to combine 2 questions really. This is from Susan. She said, do you have a favorite book from a different author than either of you? And I am going to tack on to the end of that. And are you reading anything that's coming up that you are excited about?
Susan, you go first. This is a hard one.
Well,
it is a hard question. I know.
It is. Well, this is the next book I'm going to read. I happen to have it right here. Oh, and it's the right way. I met Catherine at a signing, and she was I really enjoyed her company. We sat next to it was at the Nora Roberts bookstore. So you're there for 6 hours. So you get to know your table mates, and she was lovely and charming. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Well, kind of the same. So do you have a favorite book from a different author that you have read or that you'd recommend, or are you reading anything now that you're excited about?
Okay, I'm reading that, and I loved Jill's book. And other than that, no, because I was once asked to list my favorite authors and left out a very close friend and heard about it for over a year. So no, I will not commit to that. It comes back and bites you. Yeah.
Jill?
I mean, I'm the same. I don't like to name my favorite authors because I'm going to hurt someone's feelings. But I did just read Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane, who's a good friend of mine. Thriller, loved it. It was fantastic. And my next read is truly going to be Susan's because her assistant sent it to me, and I get to read it before you all do. So I feel lucky about that. But for the most part, I have not been reading as much as I should have. I've been watching Netflix and The Bridgertons with the rest of the world, which was amazing. And a great series, one of my favorite series to read, actually. I've been just inhaling TV. Shame on me, right?
No, whatever you need to get through right now.
Yeah.
So bringing up Bridgerton actually brings me to our last question that we'll close on. And this is actually just from Anderson's, from me. Okay, so Anderson's has always been a big supporter of romantic fiction. We have several booksellers who are really, I feel like, just experts. In our Naperville store, you've probably, anybody who's logged in here has probably met Erin. And in our Downers Grove store, we have Norma, and they are just so knowledgeable about romantic fiction and the romance genre. And they've always, really pushed it hard. And so we're really thrilled that over the last couple of years, we feel like, romantic fiction is really gaining traction and getting the respect that it finally getting the respect that it deserves. And then the recent success of Bridgerton, obviously on Netflix, has renewed this whole interest in the genre. And we're starting to see, publishers are just clamoring to get out as much as they can right now. So I guess what I'm curious about, because I think this is going to be such a great year for romantic fiction, so many great releases coming up too, is what are you guys seeing on your side in terms of the growth of the genre? What are you seeing or hearing?
Go ahead.
I mean, I live in a vacuum. I don't see or hear anything. I live in the mountains and I haven't left the mountain in a year. So I feel very uneducated to answer this question.
Okay. Well, what I've been hearing is COVID has been an interesting thing. People there are certain things they really don't want to deal with right now. And having the world end is one of them. So the fact that the satisfaction of, okay, there's going to be bumps in the road and you're going to hold your breath and you're going to laugh and hopefully squeal and all of that. But at the end, the romance gives you a satisfying, solidly upbeat ending. It's not existential. It's all of that. And I think people have come back to it because they want it. It's a little bit like a hug. It's like, oh, sure, I'm a teenager now. I don't need to be hugged, but somebody breaks your heart, suddenly mom is, those hugs are really important to you. So I think the genre has been a little bit like that. And I've been hearing as well that it's, that sales are doing really well. Library sales are up, bookstore sales are up. People are seeking out these kind of books, which makes me very, very happy.
It's comfort food. It's like mac and cheese or cinnamon sugar toast on a cold night. Reading these books.
Martini on the side because, they can be spicy.
Is everything.
So that's what I'm hearing is that, yes, the sales are doing really well. One of the things that's interesting about the Bridgertons is it was a fabulous production. People are now buying the book. And the nice thing is they're going to love the books as much because it is a quality. I mean, Julia Quinn's a really good writer. She did this amazing series and it's getting showcased. Which is lovely. We
actually can't get them in stock right now. They are back ordered at the publisher.
I bet. Yeah, because the publisher because usually movies and stuff don't sell books. In a lot, except for Pride and Prejudice. So I think, they've all been caught unaware that, and people want books. I think people are moving a little bit more towards physical books away. Yes, digital is great when you travel. But there's a reason, I do have an e-reader and I certainly could have ordered that, but I'm very abusive. I will crack the spine and get but I want a physical book. So, and
we're seeing that as well. That and audiobooks are pretty popular, are gaining traction, but we've definitely noticed ebooks are losing traction. But it's funny you should mention that about the adaptations of the movies, because that is something that's been different during COVID. We've noticed is, like you said, when a book comes out as a movie, we'll sell a few copies, but things like, what was the one with the chess?
Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, Queen's Gambit. I mean, that book came out in the 80s. We haven't carried it in years. And suddenly, I think we sold 150 copies in December. I mean, it is it's funny how during COVID, we've seen that with a couple big releases that have come out on Netflix. So that is really interesting to see how.
Yeah, that they want to go back. Well, I think the experience is so different in a book versus Netflix, which of course, we're currently doing the Great British Baking Show, which is so fabulous.
Oh, yes.
I can do an hour on the layers of sponge versus filling. But I think you do want to go back and read the book because it's a different kind of, you can get lost in a Netflix series. Getting lost in a book is a completely different way to get lost, but equally good.
Oh yeah, that connection with those characters. So, Well, that's exciting. I think the romance genre, romantic fiction, just has a really exciting year ahead. So long overdue, very exciting year ahead, I think. So I know Erin at our Naperville store is so excited about it. So she asked me to ask that question. All right. Well, I think that's it for us tonight. I think we got through most of the questions. If we didn't get through your questions, sorry about that. Thanks again, everybody, for just hanging with us through that tech issue. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Susan and to Jill for tonight. Good luck to both of you with your new upcoming releases. Jill, your new book, and Susan, yours comes out, I believe it's February 9th. Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you to everybody that's in the audience as well.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
And stay well out there, everybody. We're hopefully towards the end of this, or at least in the middle. On the downslope? I don't know.
I know. Analogies are hard with COVID.
Bye.
Well, thank you.